Have you ever had a nightmare that all your friends abandon you and talk about you in their new group chat? Well, welcome to my reality. You guys, welcome back to the opinion you didn't ask for. I'm Hannah, and last week I did something so out of my comfort zone that even my husband could not believe I was doing it. I let my daughter, Blake, who is 6 years old, have a Friendsgiving. And for some people, you might think that is bare minimum. No, for me, that is max capacity for what I am able to handle. I do not like having people over to my house, especially a bunch of 6-year-old little girls. Please no. I almost don't like having people over because I feel like I'm going to be judged or they're going to ruin something and then I'm going to feel a certain type of way about this 6-year-old or just feelings of not good enough. And so I don't want to open up our home to have those judgments be made. And I am very much an introverted extrovert. People think that I am so extroverted. I'm absolutely not. I could stay in my house in my sweatpants all day, every day for weeks on end. I have before, not counting COVID, okay? So it was a huge deal for me, but I had the thought that if I don't allow her to have moments like that in her life, she is not going to know how to create relationships, how to cultivate friendships. And so I told her that I was going to let her have a little Friendsgiving. And I'm a simple girl, okay? I said it would be pumpkin pie. The end. It was not going to be a feast, okay? I know some Friendsgivings, everyone brings something. I didn't want to ask anyone to bring anything either. I didn't want to put anyone out, whether financially or just their time. Everyone has things going on. It's the holidays. So I was like, we will be having pumpkin pie from Costco, and that is all. And you can invite 5 friends. And when I told her, she lit up. She was so excited. She will play pretend that she is hosting these giant dinners and she has all her stuffed animals and she has 5-course meals and she decorates and then she'll invite all of us to come to her party with her other friends. And we always joke that she is going to be the world's best party planner because she is just so passionate about these dinner parties. And so that's where this whole thing came to life, is that I'm like, she loves to do this. Let's make them real people, not stuffed animals. And I want her at a young age to know how to make friendships, the kind of people that you want to have in your life. So I did it. We sat down. She gave me the 5 people she wanted to invite. And when she told me which people she wanted to invite, I made sure to ask her, are they kind to you? You know, at school, do they play with you? Because I don't want her being so kind to everyone and then she invites someone and they come over and then it's mean girl situation happening in my house with my kid and they don't want to see me get into like mama bear mode. You just don't want to see it. It's not pretty. So I'm trying to set her up for success here. So with each girl, I was like, are they nice to you? Do they play with you? And she was confident in all of them. Like, yes. And it was so cute. One of the girls she wanted to invite, she had one more pick left. And she had a bunch of girls she wanted from her old class from last year and this year. But I said, you only have one more. And so she goes, I want to invite. And she named one of her friend's older sisters who happens to be a neighbor. And I was like, are you sure? You know, she's not in your grade. She's not in your class. And she goes, well, yeah, because I don't want her to feel left out because her sister's coming. And it's just those moments when you're so proud. You're like, wow, you are a better person than I am. Because I'd be like, why would I invite you? Not that you're not a good person or not that, you know, we don't play outside in the summertime, but you're not in my class. I had a chance to pick a different friend, but she cared so much about Friendsgiving being a place where no one felt left out. And I was so proud of her. And so I was like, okay. And she told me all of them were kind to her and played with her. So I felt very comfortable inviting these girls into my home. And it went great. Okay, it went great. My husband, love that man. He does not know how to be simple. So last second, I even bought Capri Suns. I was like, okay, every girl can have a juice. Every girl can have a juice. That was me going big, you guys. Pumpkin pie and Capri Suns. And he forgot I bought them. And last minute, he's like, I'm going to make homemade hot chocolate. And I was like, are you joking? Why? He's like, well, it's cold and Blake loves it. He's the best dad, you guys, the best man. He's just the best. If you know Taylor, you know he's the best. If you don't know him, let me just tell you, he's the best. And he goes above and beyond, and he does things to make it more special. And then after he made it for everybody and there was hot chocolate spilled on multiple girls' shirts, I also looked at him and I was like, we have a white couch. Did you forget this? We are going to trust a bunch of 6-year-olds with hot chocolate next to my white couch. It was fine. The couch survived. All is well. And then after he goes, I forgot you bought Capri Suns, if we're being honest. I was like, I told you I did. Whatever. Love him. So we had hot chocolate and pumpkin pie. And the girls had an amazing time. And one of the first girl who left, I actually texted her mom after it to make sure nothing had happened because when she left, she looked somewhat sad or angry. And all of a sudden I started panicking because I thought, did my daughter say something unkind to her? Did someone else say something unkind? My home will not be a place where any of that happens. And I wanted to be very on top of it. And so I texted this girl's mom and I was like, did she have a good time? We're so glad she came. I noticed she looked a little sad. Was everything okay? And she messaged back and said, oh, she had the best time. She was just mad we came to pick her up. And that made me feel so good. I was like, oh, okay, that's the best problem to have, right? Like that is the best thing. That's the best outcome that could come from this party is that a girl left looking sad because she didn't want to leave. And my daughter was so happy that everyone came and they all got along and played so well. And it was awesome. It was very overwhelming for me for a good chunk of it. I had to keep being like, okay, it's fine. This is only an hour. I can survive this. It's very loud. Lots of girls, very loud, lots of screaming, but it was happy screaming. There wasn't drama. There wasn't fighting. It was peaceful, which I was so grateful for because I realized that the girls that were in my home, at least I would like to believe, that if they were to do a Friendsgiving or they were to have a birthday party or whatever it may be, that my daughter would be invited to their thing, right? Like she would have a seat at their table because she's creating these relationships and she's able to recognize if someone is nice or mean. She's able to recognize if someone spends time with her and makes her feel important, laughs at her silly jokes, or goes along with her fun games. She recognizes how people treat her. And that's such a wise gift she has at such a young age. And I feel like the hardest part for me doing this Friendsgiving was acknowledging I have not shown her what friendship looks like as a grown-up. Basically, since I got married, my husband is my best friend. And that's not just one of those cliche, like, my husband's my best friend. No, my husband is my best friend. I would choose to spend time with him over anyone else in this entire universe. He works from home, people. I see that man 24/7, and I still miss him when I go to the grocery store. Or if he's in the bathroom for too long, I miss him. Like, he is my best friend. And I want to teach my kids to marry your best friend. Obviously, that is a very important thing. But I have not shown my daughter how to have female friendships, how to have female relationships. And it is because I have a lot of childhood trauma with friendships. I have a lot of betrayal trauma with friendships that I didn't realize how much it affected me until I got older and I would try to make friendships with people and I would find myself not putting myself out there because if I don't put myself out there, I can't get hurt, right? If I don't allow these people into my life, I can't get hurt because I grew up with these girls who were my best friends I thought they were going to be my best friends for the rest of my life, that we would all raise our kids to be best friends. No matter where we went in life, we'd always be best friends. And my senior year of high school, things changed very drastically, and I didn't understand why. There were a lot of almost red flags that I look back and I see now. But at the time, I wanted to people please. I wanted them to be my best friends. We were best friends. We had always been best friends. And so every time they would make a jab at me, I was the butt of every joke all the time. It was always making fun of me. And so I started leaning into it because I thought, if they don't think it's affecting me, maybe it'll stop. Or maybe they're not meaning it as mean as it's coming across. Maybe they're not truly making fun of me, because they're supposed to be my best friends, right? Like, why are they talking about me in such a honestly terrible way? But I didn't confront it because I didn't want to have any tension. I just wanted us all to get along. I thought we'd all be fine and dandy. And so I had something come up in my life, right, when we were graduating, and I didn't tell them about it because I did not want it to be a joke. I did not want them to make fun of me for it. I had planned to tell them, but just not yet. I wasn't ready yet. Unfortunately, it was put on social media. This is when Instagram was like beginning, right? And someone posted about me and the thing I was doing and tagged me, but I didn't post it. And somehow one of these friends found it and screenshotted it and sent it in our group chat and was like, "What is this?" And I trying to be lighthearted, was like, "Oh, haha, yeah, like I was going to tell you guys." And then nothing. It was a pageant. A pageant. Okay, I did a pageant. I am not a pageant girl. I did not seek this out. An older friend of mine from another part of the state is a pageant girl, and she had done these pageants, and she reached out and asked if I would consider it. And at first I thought, no, absolutely not. I'm not a pageant girl. I do not come from a pageant community. I'm from a very small town. We're country kids. We were not pageant people, none of us. And so it felt very foreign, felt very out of my element, very out of my comfort zone. But it was this new experience that I was being invited to experience for myself, and I took it, right? Like, I did it, and it was this amazing experience. I loved this experience. It taught me a lot. I got to know a lot of people from across the country, but that's all it was. It was just a pageant that I was invited to do, and I did it. That group chat ended that day over that text. And it was the most devastating experience for me because I thought, wait, what? And they just disappeared out of my life. They started a new group chat to talk about me and this thing. And I thought, wait, okay, can't we laugh it off? I wasn't ready to tell everybody yet. But now that you guys know, why can't we discuss it now? Or if there is a problem, talk to me. Tell me how this made you feel that I hadn't told you, but you were just so ready to drop me as a friend. And it was the most confusing time of my life because I went from having the tightest group of girlfriends who I thought we would be each other's bridesmaids, do each other's baby showers. I thought we would be there for all of it together. I thought that that was going to be my group that my kids grew up calling their aunts, right? That is where I thought that friendship would go. And it was just the easiest thing for them all to just completely cut me from their lives. And so I went to college with no support system. They were all going different places and doing different things with their lives, but I didn't have them to text to tell them about school or my roommates or my Tinder dates. Okay, I went on a Tinder date and the guy took me to a Ted Bundy cave And I remember being in that cave and feeling this evil, and the guy was real creepy, okay? It was, red flags everywhere, okay? Crime junkies would be like, you got in the car with a stranger and let him drive you to a cave in the middle of nowhere. Girl, run. What is wrong with you, right? Like, no, I get it. Truly, I do. I understand how insane that sounds. I would rather live that date 10 times over not knowing the outcome that I survive than to ever go through the friendship betrayal that I experienced as a teenager. Okay, that's how bad it was. Thankfully, I lived through that date. So just like that is how hard this was for me, right? Like I didn't have these girls in my life anymore who I had always had. And then come some of their weddings, and they're all each other's bridesmaids, and I'm not even included in the picture, not even invited, not a part of any of this. And I thought that would be the hardest part. I thought that'd be the most painful part. And so, I move away and I have my own life at this point. And then one day I see a picture of them all together, and apparently they had these once a year get-togethers. And one of their moms commented on the post and put something along the lines of best group of girls. And I felt this heartache of like I had died. Like they're going on with their lives, they're all together, but it's like I've died. And then I realized, no, it's not like I've died. It's like I never existed to them. Because if I had died, they would be mourning me. They would all be together laughing and joking and reminiscing, but there would be almost a memorial of me, a tribute of me. Oh, she would be here, but she's gone. But that wasn't what it was. It was as if I hadn't existed in their lives. And I didn't understand for a really, really long time how someone could just not care and not feel those things for you. And so that was honestly the beginning of my betrayal trauma. That is the beginning of my friendship PTSD, where it is just a lot easier for me to not put myself out there. Because if you don't put yourself out there, you can't be rejected. You can't have people not make you feel included or wanted. And so I said in the last episode, the last submission was talking about the friend who wasn't there for her, but then had the nerve to say, you're not being a good friend to me, and blocking her, but then liking her posts. And with my daughter's whole Friendsgiving and all of these thoughts coming back up for me, I realized that it is okay to mourn a friendship that was there and to allow yourself to be sad that they're no longer in your life, to be angry that they did not show up for you in the way that you would have hoped, and to support you and to tell you that they loved you and to help you through it, especially if you've always done that for them. Because that was how I felt. I felt like I was always the one showing up for people, and they didn't show up for me. They did not even slightly go out of their way to forgive me or to make me feel included or wanted, or even to celebrate what I was doing in life. And so there's the lyrics from the Justin Bieber song that's like, some people come in your life for a reason. Some people come in your life for a season. And then obviously he's talking about his wife, but it's like, you are a lifetime. I think it is so important to realize that with friendships, that there are friendships that are in your life forever, that they are going to be your ride or dies. And then there are going to be seasonal friendships. There are going to be friendships for a reason, whether it's to teach you something about yourself, to teach you things to look for, to avoid. And so that is my advice to the submission from last week, is that you can mourn that loss. You can recognize that friendship of those 8 years was something that maybe meant more to you than it did to them, that they were so okay cutting it off, and that was really hard for you. But it probably taught you something about yourself. It probably taught you something about future friendships. And it's okay to cut people off completely. Like if you need to remove that person from all social media and block them so that they're not liking your posts and it's re-triggering you every single time you see their name, you are allowed to do that. If you are okay moving on with your life and saying, I'm happy with where I'm at, I have found an amazing group of people, I don't need that person anymore in my life. I'm grateful for the times that we had that were good. I'm grateful for what they taught me about how I don't want to be and who I don't want to have in my circle, and be grateful for that. But to move on, because you can tell someone that they hurt you. You can invite someone to change, but they have the choice, right? Like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That's the thing. And if you want to communicate that, you can. Communication is great. I wish that my childhood to high school best friends had just communicated with me how it made them feel, and I would have had a chance to explain how I felt and why I did what I did. But that isn't what happened. I didn't have that chance. And I will say that I have talked to them all since that has happened, just, some of them in passing very casually. Others, I feel like we rekindled more as grown-ups to mend that relationship, but almost to start a new friendship based on where we were at in life now. And I'm grateful for that. But that hurt that 18-year-old me went through was some of the darkest times of my life. And it's almost freeing to be able to acknowledge that. Because I think for years I tried to put it off like it didn't affect me as much as it did. But now I have a daughter who I would be heartbroken if she experienced that. And I want to teach her the kind of friends to look for and the kind of things that we do and do not tolerate. Because I am sure that and like I said, there were red flags now looking back. There was this awkward moment at my bridal shower where one of my other high school friends, not one of the girls who had been in this like tighter group of my friends, but one of my friends. And she came, and those little games you play at bridal shower parties. One of the things was tell us a funny story about the bride. And everyone who was there filled them out, and then I read them. And I got to this card, and the memory was of a party where something crazy had happened, except I wasn't invited to that party. And I think people forgot that, which is why she just assumed, because these were supposed to be my best friends. And it was one of my absolute best friends from childhood, from birth, who threw this party. And I found out about it later, that it had happened and that I hadn't been invited. And that is the memory that this other friend put, because she just assumed I was there because I had been best friends with them. So why wouldn't I have been at this party, right? Like that doesn't make sense to other people who'd be like, oh, they were best friends. Of course she was at this party. Of course she remembers this crazy thing that happened. But no. So that was awkward. Nothing like sitting at your own bridal shower with people who are telling stories about a situation you were not invited to. And it just brought it all right back to the surface. And I remember being like, do not cry. Do not cry. It is fine. And then I was like, just don't get angry either, because I either go from really sad to really angry really fast. It's an unhealthy coping mechanism that I am trying to change about myself. So yeah, I think that it's been a journey. And unfortunately, the journey didn't end there. I moved away with my husband after we got married, and I had no friends, no family. I was completely alone, and we moved into this neighborhood, and I was so lonely and desperate for connection with anyone, and my husband was at work all the time, and I'm home alone as this stay-at-home wife because I was super sick while pregnant. because I was super sick while pregnant with our first, and I met some women in the neighborhood, and they would invite me over to hang out. And these are the kind of relationships that I think come in your life for a reason, because we would hang out together, and it was so toxic, which is not how I am. But I think I was so desperate for connection that I overlooked a lot of red flags, a lot of things that were just not my personality that I was engaging in, that I was participating in. And I would come home sometimes from spending time with some of these people, and my husband would go, I don't know if I like how you act when you come home, because it's almost like you're angry. And it's almost like you pick a fight with me for no reason. And he wasn't wrong. And I'm realizing it was my reaction to having all of that negativity, all of that gossipy, mean girl energy that's not my personality. It was me coming home and almost trying to rid myself of it, but instead I just became mean to him. But I knew I could be mean to him because he was still going to love me through those moments. But that wasn't fair to him, because then he's just seeing how unhappy I seem and how angry I seem. And so I would try to limit how much time I spent with these people, because I didn't know how. Once again, I am alone. I have no friends or family. They are my only connections. So I couldn't just completely cut it off and have nobody. So I would try to limit my time. But I found that when I would spend time with one of them and the others weren't around, they would talk so bad about the others. And it hit me one day that if they are comfortable talking bad about, these other friends of ours to me, I wonder how comfortable they feel to talk about me to these other friends when I'm not around. And that is a red flag. That is not how a friendship should be. You shouldn't have to be wondering, are they going to talk bad about me when I leave this room? If you're at a party in high school and you don't want to be the first to leave because you think that they're going to talk bad about you, those aren't your friends. If you're in a group of women from your neighborhood and you worry they're talking about you, or if you had told someone something in confidence, you're worried that they're going to tell everyone else and that your secret was not safe, those aren't your friends. Your friends should be people who would metaphorically hide the body for you and lie on the stand. They should be the people that would have your back in a fight that you picked. Okay, you picked the fight. You're actually in the wrong. Your friends are standing behind you and they're like, yeah, you're right. She started this and she's in the wrong. This fight's still happening because we're backing her 100%, right? Like, those are the kind of friendships you should have, not people who make you feel like you need to be smaller in a room, not people that you don't feel like you can trust to tell things to. Because how lonely is that? If you don't feel like you can ever vent to someone about something or discuss maybe something that is bothering you that you're trying to figure out and you want their advice or their opinion, and you can't trust that it's going to stay confidential, that's not a friend. That is not the kind of person that you want to be there for you. You also don't want to be the friend who shows up for everyone all the time and no one shows up for you. It's so lonely. Even in a room full of friends, I'm air quoting that, by the way, like these friends that you have that you're in this room with, if you feel lonely and you feel like I would stand for any of these women, how many of those women would stand for you? How many of those women would have your back or show up for you in your time of need? And that has unfortunately been another situation that I experienced with a friend that I had had since I was a teenager. We went through some crazy fun experiences together, and we always said we were like sisters, and I felt like a lot of the times I showed up for her and she wouldn't show up for me unless it was super, super convenient, right? Like, if she didn't really have to go out of her way at all to show up for me, she was there, maybe. But for me, I am such a loyal, diehard friend. And so she actually wasn't here for when my husband and I got married, and then we moved away and I got pregnant. And she was like, you should come visit. Like, I want to meet your husband. I want to see you. You guys, and this is going to sound crazy because you're going to be like, what? Girl, what? Yeah, I know. We drove, I can't even remember now, 15 and a half hours with me 5.5 months pregnant to drive all the way to see her so she could meet my husband, see me, to see me. I drove all this way to love and support her for something she was doing. And then I was having my baby shower. We drove to Idaho, where I am from, for my baby shower. And it was a couple hours from her to come to my baby shower. And she was driving through my hometown to drive to another town to do something that weekend. And she did not stop. This friend who I had driven 15 and a half hours for while pregnant couldn't even stop off the freeway for 2 minutes to tell me she loved me, to hug me, to drop off a gift. Nothing. There was no reciprocation. I had given so much of myself. I had sacrificed so much time and energy and money. It's not cheap to drive that far, right? Like, I had done all this, and then we had flown in to be at my baby shower, and she drove through the town and couldn't even stop. And I remember feeling like I had lost everybody at that point. Like, I have no one in my corner. I don't have a village. And it was heartbreaking because I thought, what am I doing wrong? Why don't people love me the way I love them? Is there something flawed in the way I do things? Am I just too much for everybody? Because that is truly how I feel. I feel like I am so much personality for everybody that no one can handle me, that no one wants to put up with me, that I am not worthy of being loved and befriended by people. And it's a horrible feeling, obviously. But as I've come to love myself and to be okay being alone, I realize that there are people who will show up for me that I never expected. That I'm like, wow, I didn't think that you cared about me at all. And then they're showing up and being so supportive. And I'm honestly so grateful for every single little show from people that they acknowledge that I'm still alive. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, there was no funeral. I am still here. Like, thank you. But there's no way that this is only me. There's no way that I am the only person who has experienced these type of relationships. And then there's the friends who are friends with everyone. And I am not like that. That is not my thing because I can only give so much of myself to so many people that I will never understand people who are friends with everyone because I have to wonder, where do your loyalties lie, right? Like, if you had to pick, could you pick a friend to back? Could you pick a couple friends to back? Like, who do you actually care about? Because if you have 1,010,000 friends, who is actually important to you? Or does it just matter that you people please everyone and that everyone's your friend? But for me, and I don't know about anyone else, for me, I feel like I'm just not actually your friend. We are more acquaintances, which is fine. In the last year or two, I have started being so comfortable calling people acquaintances because we know each other. We have spent time together, whether it's our kids or friends or we've met through certain situations. That is great. But I think we throw around the word friend, or at least I do, but when I consider someone a friend, I expect that loyalty. I expect that commitment and that love. And not everyone is able to give that. And that's okay. It is okay if you want to be friends with everyone. But I have found I need people who will fight for me, who will cheer for me and root for me to succeed. And it is a very small group of people, okay? It's a very small number, obviously. This is probably seems like a sob story. It's not. It's just my reality. And it's something that I have had to work through. It is something that I am still trying to figure out how to move forward in making friendships, because I don't want to quit. I don't want to just live at home with just my husband. That poor man's probably like, girl, go get a hobby. I mean, he did say go get a hobby, and that's how I ended up here. So you all get to just listen to what he's had to listen to for years. But it's so eye-opening when you have a child that you're looking at, and in your mind you're like, how do I make her life and her experiences better than what I went through? How do I help her cultivate that? And I want to surround myself with women and friendships who love me even at my worst, who, if I offend them because I am who I am and I gave my opinion unsolicited, and if it may have come out wrong, who love me enough and who cherish my relationship with them and our relationship together, that they're just like, Hannah, listen, shut up. I didn't want that, or this came out rude. I can work with that, right? Like, I can do communication. I can do acknowledging and moving forward and creating boundaries. I'm all about boundaries. I'm all about communication. If you have someone who loves you enough, they will give that to you. They will do that for you. You should not be wondering, are they gonna support me? Do they love me? And I am so grateful because I found a best friend in Texas in a very roundabout way. I honestly kind of forced her to be my friend because I texted her and I was like, we will hang out. I don't know how to say this, but we will hang out because I don't really have many people in Texas, like almost zero. We had one who, she was a queen, and she is the kind of person who I want to be like one day. But my age with young kids, I didn't have any friends. And I met this girl, and our life stories were very similar. Our spouses, our husbands were so similar. She had 2 kids. I had 2 kids. They were opposite ages, but like where they correlate. I mean, it was meant to be, right? Like, we were meant to be friends. And she has been one of the greatest blessings in my life, because even though we don't live near each other anymore, or yet still, we always talk about we will get back to the same state one day. She will tell me every time I have the most random idea how amazing I would be at this, or how wonderful I'm going to be on this, or how I was made to do this podcast or own this certain business, or whatever dreams I've ever told her. It's never been met with making fun of, or I have to worry she's going to talk about me behind my back to someone else. It has always been met with so much love and support. And that has been, that's a new thing for me. That was not something that I was very aware of as an adult, that's how women friendships can be. You can build a village. You just have to be so picky who's in your village, because those are going to be the people that your kids grow up seeing around. And you want to make sure that they want to mirror those relationships. They want to have best friends like you have. They're seeing how healthy of relationships you have, and they know that is the bar, right? That is the level of how I want to be treated by other people. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm also grateful for the few friends from my childhood that show up every now and then. I get it. Life is busy, and that's okay. There are friendships that you have for a lifetime that are just very sporadic. Like, you might talk once a year, but you can pick up where you left off as if nothing had happened, right? Like, you know these friends. And I got a text a couple weeks ago from one of those kind of friends, and she's like, Hannah, I just heard you're doing a podcast. I don't listen to podcasts, but I will be tuning in for this. And I was like, girl, that's okay, because I don't listen to podcasts either. Like, this is going to be a hot mess, and, can't wait for it. And she's like, there is nothing more Hannah than starting a podcast when you don't listen to podcasts. And the whole podcast is just you giving your opinions to people unsolicited, and you can't be interrupted. She's like, if there was ever a dream, that would be your dream. And I'm so happy for you that you're making those dreams a reality. Those are the kind of people you should have in your life. The people that know those things about you, and instead of being like, ugh, here she goes again, or oh, she's going to try to be someone she's not, or oh, she's going to give her opinion again, no one cares. Find the people that are like, this is for you. This is magical. You can do this, and I can't wait to be along for the ride, to support you and to love you through this. Okay? Those are the friends you need. Tune in next week to Would You Be Invited to Sit at Their Table? Part 2.